all pregnancies around the world is complicated by the condition of APH, antepartum hemorrhage.
Antepartum hemorrhage, definition, any bleeding that happens through or into the genital tract and beyond the period of viability. Now, this period of viability is something that is questionable, but here for the sake of literature, 24 weeks has been defined. So that is how we go for antepartum hemorrhage, and it's a medical emergency, we understand. If we divide over to the causes, we understand that there is a placental cause, there is causes that are related to the local conditions, and yes, that can you take in as extraplacental cause and unexplained or intermediate, and where you are not able to actually identify what has been the cause for this bleeding. We understand placenta previa very truly, that the placenta is actually attached not in the upper segment but the lower segment of the uterus. We understand that the upper segment is the one that is formed by the body proper, lower segment that is formed by the isthmus, bounded upper by the anatomical internal os and lower by the histological internal os, and following which we have the cervix. The isthmus part, we understand that this is a portion of the cervix that is actually merged with the body proper. It is something that is going to be intermediate between cervix and the body proper. So some reaction will happen. Placenta previa, the insertion of the placenta is at a significant point. Then abruption placenta, if I am talking about, the placenta is inserted in the place wherever it is, but there is a blood collection or there is a premature separation of the placenta resulting up in the collection of the bleeding behind it, and we have definitely a normal placenta where the position is. Understand any scarred uterus, any place where there is a trauma, the possibility of placenta previa comes in. So be it a scarred uterus because of cesarean, be it a scarred uterus because of previous DNCs, and like any other place that can be. So if you have a larger placenta, then again the placenta previa can happen. So twin gestation, multiple gestation, or large size placenta due to any other reason, multiparity, बार-बार babies हो रहे हैं तो यार कोई तो placenta नीचे खिसकेगा. So that becomes the placenta previa again. If the cord is attached away from the placenta with the vessels traversing, this is the third category that we are talking about, and that is all I am going to mention about vasa previa, wherein the cord is at a distance, the placenta is at a distance, the vessels are traveling in between, and if there is a tear in the membrane here, so what happens? These vessels open up. Now there is a hemorrhage that happens, but mother is fine. Who is at risk? The baby is at risk because it is a fetal blood that is pouring out. So we lose the baby, but mother doesn't have any problem. And the placenta is upper segment and there is no contraindication. You've already lost the baby, don't scar the uterus further. So take the baby out the natural way. Okay. Types and degrees, we all know about it. Type 1, 2, 3, 4. Type 1, anterior posterior. Type 2, anterior posterior. Type 3, very fine. 4, central. This may be this covering the whole of the os. So that goes in mild and major. How do we divide? Mild is type 1 and 2 anterior, major is type 2 posterior, 3 and 4. That is how we have partial. You understand that is something called as placental migration, wherein the placenta move upwards as and when the gestational age, the uterine size increases, because there is a differential in the growth. So at times that you find as low lying in the initial part of the pregnancy, later on you might actually find that this placenta is migrated to upper segment and is no longer a previa. That is one. Understand that if it is a scarred uterus and placenta previa is anterior, okay, so in such a situation, you have to think about placenta accreta in mind. Go ahead with cause of bleeding. Why does this bleeding happen? We understand that this placenta is inelastic, there are certain changes that are happening, the shearing effect that might happen. So, you know, like some vessels open up and body bleeding happen. Now let's talk about the symptom. I hope you remember that what did we remember with this type of bleeding? That it is going to be causeless, painless and recurrent. These are three characters that you have to remember for this bleeding. This bleeding is going to be bright red because it is not holding any place else. Whatever is coming out is passing out of the cervix. You warning bleeding. So anything, you know, like spotting or slight bleeding that happened initially, that is not torrential, and probably, you know, can result up in heavy bleeding later on is what is a warning bleeding. The point of difference here it is not related to any activity, but there you might find trauma or cohabitation that has happened as an initiating event, and then the bleeding started. So an abdominal examination, the only point of understanding that you need to carry here is that there is going to be no other difference except for that this head is not going to get engaged. if there is a major placenta previa, again, because there is something occupying the lower pole of the uterus. So there is no space, the head cannot go down. Then confirmation the diagnosis, the magic ultrasound. MRI has got a limited role, and that too when eccrita is suspected and an ultrasound is not able to formulate a diagnosis. So the investigation you do in any case of hemorrhage, differential diagnosis, guys, UG. Definitely the first and important differential as abruptio placentae. The other causes are going to include the local causes, which will be polyps, malignancy, circumvallate placenta. That's another condition that can mimic this situation. So complications, what can happen? Malpresentation, premature labor that might either be induced or it is happening on its own. There might be definitely the big complication of mortality and other complications that can include labor complications like early rupture of membranes, cord prolapse, slow dilatation that might happen, intrapartum hemorrhage that might occur, and increased incidence of operative intervention. That is there. Postpartum hemorrhage can happen, there might be trauma or extension of incision that has been there, retained placenta might increase because morbidly entered placenta might be there, and then the risk of previa being eccrita cannot be. Then puerperium, we have already talked about, fetal complications. Preterm definitely is there, asphyxia can be there, birth injuries, congenital malformation, that all are there. Now, the management aspect for previa, please understand that either you have to manage the patient at home or in IPD is one question. So, anyone that is bleeding, kindly keep her in the hospital. The single lady. Second thing, if she is bleeding, you have to understand whether she has a possibility to come over to the hospital or the facilities are there or not. If not, keep her in the hospital. The blood is always kept ready at the hospital, the parent hospital where she is booked. So that's done with expectant management versus active management. Becky is a conservative regime wherein you are waiting and watch. Any patient who is not due for delivery is going to be taken up for conservative management. That means preterm ho, delivery imminent nahi hai, you do not want to get the delivery done. In such a situation, keep her on conservative management. Any requirement, any act that requires termination will be the same one that will be stopping or terminating this McAfee's. The patient becomes term, the lung gets mature, she has a bleeding or a hemorrhage that is adversely affecting her hemodynamic status. The baby is dead due to any reason, unfortunate, or there is any congenital malformation that has been identified in the baby. So any of these situations, terminate the pregnancy. Well, in a case of previa, is only to administer, dexamethasone that is too important for you, or you want the patient to be transferred from one facility to other, that you are causing this, otherwise you would have terminated. Next thing. The magnesium sulfate that we are using here will also be neuroprotective in addition to the toxins that it is giving, and that is why this drug actually become favored one over the previous other ones as the literature says. It is something that even I wrote for myself on this slide so that I don't forget it. So guys, do remember that a hemorrhage that is happening can sensitize an Rh positive nation to an Rh negative mother. So do give them NPD in order to avoid that sensitization. Find out bleeding, to what extent, why bleeding, then put a stop to that bleeding with whatever means you know of. And then, next step, at the same time, make up for the loss. Whatever has gone out has to be replaced. The best replacement is, so blood for blood. Steroids is my choice. For McAfee's, I need to understand that if I'm giving it out, what instructions do I give to my patient or my attendants? Investigations, periodic ultrasounds, you actually go for, advising them to keep in touch with the parent institute. Guys, the recommendations, as I told you, this slide again is for you, and PD and keeping things ready are the ones that you need to work on. That any case of antepartum hemorrhage, you are not going to touch her vagina or vulva or her cervix due to any reason. If there is a clot that is there in the vagina, that means the bleeding is heavy, and in such a situation, there is one examination that can be done with, or if she is bleeding too heavy, that is called as double setup examination. Double setup examination is something that is done Do a perspective examination, but whatever examination you're going to get done, or even a personal examination if you are wanting, in a setup or in a place where cesarean can be done immediately. So what you do, you shift your patient to OT, get your anesthetist at hand, get your pediatrician at hand, get everything ready that in case required she can be immediately induced and cesarean be done. Then you make the position of your patient and examine her. That is what is a double setup examination. Delivery, what are the indications? Please have a look at this. This is one slide I would like you to remember when to terminate the pregnancy. So bleeding occurs at or after 37 weeks of pregnancy. She's already termed. Why wait? Why stop for to have a torrential hemorrhage and then go on? Patient is in labor. Why stop here? Labor is starting. God has started something, so that means there has to be a good reason for it. Believe in him and take the baby out. Patient is extenuated state at admission. That means hemodynamically unstable. So do not wait. Bleeding is continuing and is of moderate degree. That means one pad is getting soaked within 4 hours. So 4 hours pad is getting soaked, do not wait. Not much of a benefit you get. Baby with non-reassuring cardiac status or dead or known to be congenital deformed. So fetal indication if it is there. So again, abruptio. One, that do not forget DIC with abruptio. Two, there is a staging for abruptio presenti that you should be aware of. Three, that whenever you get abruptio, you have to think of that mother will be more deteriorated in comparison to whatever blood loss you see. Whether it is concealed, revealed or mixed variety. Do you remember these 3 varieties? With the revealed one, every blood is coming out. The concealed one, everything is remaining inside, and that comes in covariant uterus. And the third category, the mixed one, some is coming out, some is remaining in. So even if it is a revealed variety with abruptio, mother is actually more compromised even with the bleeding that is visible. So with placenta previa, we say that the condition of the mother matches with how much blood loss has happened. With abruptio, we say that it is always out of proportion and more than whatever the blood loss that is there. Now, why I am saying that in a revealed is a question that you need to ponder on. I am saying that statement because even if the case is that of a revealed one, the coagulopathy that settles in can even be seen that way as well, though it is more with concealed variety or the mixed variety in comparison to the revealed category. Okay. Now, if you ask me, you can very well put in forth your say statement that if a patient is bleeding, this dilutional coagulopathy is nature, whether it is previa or abruptio, and I am bound to result up in coagulopathy at a stage whenever hemorrhage has been massive. I agree to that statement, but at the same time, I have a statement to make, and that is that with abruptio presently, considering that the separation of the placenta has happened, there are tissue necrosis factor or other factors that are released that probably deteriorates it more in comparison to when the bleeding is happening with other causes. So understand, always suspect your mother to be more adversely affected in cases of abruptio presenti in comparison to placenta previa. The next point to ponder, that the fetus is definitely more badly affected with abruptio presenti in comparison to placenta previa. Okay, so there in previa the mother accentuates, because the mother accentuates, the baby accentuates, or the baby is not getting the enough oxygen supply. We understood about the supply to the brain. And if we talk about abruptio presenti, there, because the baby is not getting any exchange more in comparison to intravascular compartment getting restricted, that is why the condition is all the more poorer. Let's move on with the abruptio presenti, revealed, concealed, mixed variety. Yeah? Abruptio presenti, placenta is at its own place. There is a subplacental hemorrhage, subchorionic hemorrhage that might be evident, and that is why we have abruptio. Risk factors can include a high order of birth, advanced age of the mother, poor socioeconomic status, malnutrition, smoking, all of these happen there. Hypertension is associated with abruption ranging from 10 to 15%. Do understand folic acid plays a role, and if you have had a patient who has had abruption prior in or is at risk for abruption, you can add a folic acid and you'll find that it does help. So So mechanism of separation, you can have a spasm, anoxic changes that might happen, or rupture. Trauma is definitely known to cause abruption, and that's why separation. Sudden uterine decompression that can happen in leaking pervagina, that is happening in a polyhydramnios or even in a normal patient with normal Lycos. So can happen with the delivery of first twin, sudden escape, premature rupture of membranes, short cord, supine hypotension syndrome, placental anomaly, which includes a circumvallate placenta. Circumvallate placenta, if you do not recall till yet, I'll make you remember that the maternal plate is working more, the fetal plate is smaller, and these are the placentas with a small discus with a rim that is there on the placental side, the cord coming out, and the cotyledons are actually covering up some of the fetal side as well. So that is a circumvallate placenta. Sick placenta due to placentation is problematic, or there's something wrong with the uteroplacental circulation, you can find a similar way out. Uterine factor like saptate, that can also result up into it, and prior abruption. There is a tendency of recurrence, and that recurrence has been quoted between 5 to 17%. So this slide was for you guys. Pathogenesis. Where do I get coagulopathy in obstetrics? 3 conditions that you are going to count for me. Abruption placentae, as we can see here. What's the next one? Preeclampsia. Preeclampsia, good. The third one is a missed abortion. Okay, so remember them for 3 conditions at least my UGs have to count up these 3, and they are missed abortion, preeclampsia, and abruption placentae. I have counted them up. So let's move ahead with clinical classification. That's another thing that I want at least my PGs to remember. You have grade 0, clinical features are absent, and only on inspection you find that abruption was thought. So it had happened. No effect. Grade 1, wherein the slight bleeding, irritable uterus, straightness might be minimal, maternal BP, fibrosis levels are unaffected, FHS is good. Grade 2, vaginal bleeding might be moderate, tenderness is always present. So there's a deterioration that is happening. Grade 3, associated with coagulation defect, and urea may complicate. These are the clinical features. I hope you understand. Tenderness is an association per abdomen with abruption placentae. And that tenderness actually clinches the diagnosis. You find that there is fetal tachycardia or fetal distress that is evident, or even it might be absent. The remaining, I hope, are self-explanatory. Clinical manifestations, we understand. Covalent uterus, we all know of. Is it an indication for hysterectomy? That is another question that is there. It is not, okay? It regresses on its own. Remove this. The other name for covalent for my PGs. So macroscopic features are asked from you, PGs. This is important for you. Microscopic features, the changes in other organs. Complications, we have already covered that. Fetal, we have already covered that. Management, it's okay, you have to take care of the shock. Management options. Expectant is rare, we usually go for a delivery in these cases. What the question rises is delivery how? Whether it is vaginal or it is cesarean. So if the bleeding is too much, go for cesarean. If it is something that you can manage, vaginal is definitely better. See, the lowest delivery that I got conducted, or rather I conducted, without having an EPPH, was with a platelet level of 9,000. And with 7,000 also, 7,000 I didn't get it conducted, I just supervised. But understand, with 7,000 as well, the living ligature is so effective that it will not cause any PPH if you handle it. So imagine the benefit of having a vaginal delivery. Okay? So plan for vaginal if possible. If not, then only go for cesarean. Management, you have to think about known factors, prevent as much as possible, correct anemia, do a diagnosis that is fast, treat at home if it is possible and it is light, and whatever points we counted at are actually applicable to. at hospital, if there is any infusion keeper there, assess the case, emergency measures have to be decided on, and definitive management has to be taken care of. This again is from your favorite book, so kindly go back and go through this flowchart. And with that, thank you.